She's in with sixes.
Jennifer Tilly kicks things off with pocket sixes. This is a decent hand to entertain a small raise with and see if luck is on your side.
Back on Arden. She calls the 3-bet as well, so 3-way to the flop. Oh my word, set over set and Griffin's flop top pair?
This is going to be bad for Griffin, but it's going to be real bad for Arden.
With the board that the flop delivers, everyone has something to bet about. But instead of that, Tilly and Cho decide to check. With that in mind, our weak top pair is trying to take control of the board by shooting a small bet of $2,500. Tilly is loving it because other than a set of kings, nothing else on the board beats her, and she would love to see this pot growing, so naturally she calls. Miss Cho, on the other hand, has a completely different plan. She is not waiting for the pot to grow. She is growing it herself. She does that by firing a $9,400 bet. Now Benger has a choice. Entertain this top pair, or realize the truth and just give up.
Why is he so serious? He's like a goober 99% of the time.
The angry man quickly decides to fold and not pursue the king. On the other hand, Tilly is more than happy to oblige Miss Cho by re-raising to $30,000 with her set of sixes.
Oh boy.
Jen re-raises $30,000.
At this point, Miss Cho should know the deep trouble she finds herself in, but still decides to go ahead and call on her set of fives. The turn delivers the 9 of clubs, a card that is completely irrelevant to both of them. If I was in the position of Tilly, I would be betting pot here. What would you? Let me know in the comments below. I guess Tilly is not so happy about my jamming suggestion, so she decides to check here and wait for something magical on river. Same thing for Miss Cho. In her case, though, that is in her favor.
And Arden spikes a 1-outer. She's got quads. Meanwhile, Jen has rivered a full house.
Buckle up, because this hand just went from pretty sick to absolutely bonkers.
People say patience is a virtue, but in Tilly's case, her patience came to bite her from behind. The river delivers the only card that can save Miss Cho, and that is the 5 of clubs. Now the only question is, will Tilly get baited by her now full house hand? Or will she read her for the quads Miss Cho has? And as we all thought she should do, Miss Cho goes.
There it is.
This is not good.
No, it sure isn't.
If Jen calls, this will be the biggest pot of the game.
Arden, you have quads because it can't be quads.
Does she know?
I don't think you have kings full. And I don't think you have nines full. You might have fives full.
That's a call.
Daniel Negreanu has pocket kings.
Raises?
Queen high.
Queen high?
He opens the pot to $1,200, a classic early position flex that targets the blinds and sets up a pot he can steer in position. Phil Hellmuth, smooth, calls, choosing pot control and range protection over a thin 3-bet. Eugene Kachaloff comes along as well with ace-9, content to realize in position and take a multi-way flop against 2 ranges that can play face-up on ace-high textures. Kachaloff checks the ace-high flop, protecting a top-pair hand with a middling kicker and letting the action declare itself. Negreanu checks behind. Pocket kings hate attacking into 2 players on an ace board, and the slowdown keeps weaker hands and bluffs alive while controlling the pot. Hellmuth takes the invitation and fires $1,200, a small stab meant to fold out nothing hands and price set against exactly these cautious checks. Kachaloff calls, signaling he is not afraid of a little heat with top pair. Negreanu overcalls, a cagey line that keeps both ranges uncapped and disguises the true strength of kings by wearing the same hoodie as ace-X.
You too, Daniel?
Yeah.
My God.
You didn't expect 2 calls, right?
No,
Just one.
I was expecting 1 call.
No.
All 3 check the turn after the 8 rolls off. That card changes little. Kachaloff sees no need to inflate with his kicker problem. Hellmuth's one-and-done bluff correctly shuts down into 2 sticky ranges, and Negreanu continues the sandbag, preserving the option to spring value or bluff catch on rivered scare cards. The river drops the king of clubs and the trap wakes up. Kachaloff leads $4,200, thin value that hopes to get paid by worse aces and denies a free showdown to stubborn pairs. Negreanu answers with a raise to $14,200, selling a story consistent with a slow-played monster or a patient ace that improved, and crucially targeting the very hand Kachelov is value betting.
Think Phil's Hollywooding a bit here since he bet out on the flop.
Hellmuth gets out of the way, his earlier poke having run its course. Faced with a credible, disciplined raise from a player who never overbets his bluffs, Kachelov has to reassess whether ace-9 is really a cash-out hand or a tip jar.
And Eugene folds.
I had at least that.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down on Jack-9 suited. He opens to $3,000 on the button, a classic small ball steal that also invites dominated jacks and queens to continue. Doyle Brunson flat calls in the small blind with Queen-Jack suited, a smooth defend that keeps Negreanu's range wide and retains post-flop maneuverability.
Well, there's a lot of money out there, baby. A lot of money out there.
Go and get you some.
Troy Wiggins completes in the big blind with pocket fours for set value, and the stage is set. Brunson, holding top pair with a strong kicker, declines to bet into two players on a coordinated texture because checking keeps Negreanu's bluffs alive and avoids building a pot where he could be outkicked or check raised by club draws. The paired board reduces semi-bluffs, and Doyle seizes the lead for $8,000. From his seat, Negreanu's flop check capped him toward medium strength and draws, so Doyle's stab is designed to extract from worse jacks and to tax the clubs and queen-10 type gutters. Negreanu calls rather than raise. The flat keeps the pot manageable against a range that still contains ace-jack or king-jack, keeps Doyle's bluffs and thin value hands firing, and leverages position to make the final decision with maximum information. This river is a sneaky upgrade for Negreanu to two pair, while a large chunk of Doyle's range remains one pair of jacks. Doyle checks, signaling showdown mode rather than a polarized line. Negreanu now turns the knobs. His hand cleanly targets queen-jack and king-jack, while very rarely running into a slow-played full house on this sequence.
Biggest hand I've had.
Quick call.
Got Jack-9.
Tough river card for the legend. Doyle Brunson running very salty tonight.
Vanessa is looking down on ace-jack offsuit. Pre-flop is a quiet trap that Vanessa sets on purpose. Antonio opens the button light, which Vanessa flat calls from the small blind, and Shaq completes. By not three-betting, Vanessa keeps both dominated aces and splashy suited connectors in. Multiway, in position on Antonio and with Shaq behind, ace-jack plays beautifully. She wants exactly this kind of pot. That's top pair, top kicker for Vanessa on a very wet texture. Instead of checking to the razor and risking a free card or a check-through three-way, she leads $165K. It's a protection lead that charges every draw and worse jack. Shaq's hand is the textbook, raise the donk, candidate, pair plus clubs plus straight equity. He bumps it to $400K, telling a story of strength while leaning on fold equity plus a ton of ways to improve. Vanessa just calls. No reason to blow up the pot against a range that includes bluffs and dominated value. And if she three-bets, she mostly isolates the strongest stuff or gets shoved on by draws with tons of equity. Flat keeps the leash tight. Turn pairs the board. That card quietly helps Vanessa more than Shaq. Sets are less likely now. Her jack stays very live, and a bunch of Shaq's pair-based value gets neutered. He still has all the draws, though.
All in.
And Shaq shoves!
I call.
Vanessa calls! It's a 10!
That was not supposed to happen.
Maria Ho is looking down on King-9 suited. She limps the button, which already tells you her plan to keep ranges wide and let him put himself in a bad position post-flop. Ike makes it $230K from the blind. That's classic heads-up logic. Punish the limp, isolate, take control with position post-flop. The problem is, Maria's hand actually plays great versus that sizing, and her call means Ike is now in the blender with a weak, dominated hand in a bloated pot. This flop is basically nightmare equity mapping for Ike. He flops trips if he's Maria, but he's not Maria, she is. He just pairs his 6. With that texture, from Ike's perspective, he's going to get called by worse a lot if he bets, and he's also repping strong. So he continuation bets 175K. That C bet with middle pair is him kind of value protecting and denying equity versus overcards. Maria just calls. She doesn't raise, and that flat is so evil. If she raises the flop, Ike can sometimes hero fold hands and avoid lighting the rest of the clip on fire. By just calling, she keeps in literally everything he can keep barreling with. He shuts down. He checks. That check is him saying, okay, maybe I don't need to blast with just a 6 here. Let's control. Maria bets 310K into that check. That sizing is nasty because it forces Ike to start making real decisions with a bluff catcher, and it continues the story that she could just be stabbing after he gave up on the king. From Ike's point of view, her line still looks super wide. She can absolutely be floating with air and now trying to win it. So Ike calls. The river pairs the 6. That is the cruel part. Ike goes from, I have 2 pair, I'm bluff catching, to wait, I've got a full house now, 6 is full of 9s. I actually beat random bluffs and counterfeited 9s that didn't improve. His hand upgrades in his mind. He checks, planning to catch, and Maria just rips it in.
All in.
And she shoves on Ike.
I want to make a really big fold here. I think you have it.
5 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Time to look either real smart or real dumb. Ugh, that was gross.
Daniel Negreanu is about to play 6 deuce suited. Phil Hellmuth opens to 800 with King 10 offsuit, the kind of loose early raise he uses to test the waters and try to play pots post-flop. Negreanu immediately leans on it, re-raising to 3,600. With 6-2 suited, this is not about raw card strength. It is about punishing Phil's wide open, isolating the weakest range at the table, and taking the betting lead in position.
Who lost the last pot?
Doyle Brunson cold calls with pocket jacks, a classic trap that keeps worse hands in and avoids turning his medium-high pair into a bluff catcher against a 4-bet. Getting the price and curious to navigate post-flop, Phil comes along. That is a very Negreanu result. His pre-flop 3-bet range contains plenty of big queens, overpairs, and high card backdoors, so checking back keeps his range wide and ambiguous while realizing equity with his suited wheel trash. It also invites Phil to fire turns from out of position and forces Doyle to reveal how comfortable he is with jacks on a coordinated board. When Negreanu declines to c-bet, he preserves the option to attack later streets if either opponent betrays weakness with sizing or timing. The turn is the 4 of spades, a deceptively important card. It adds real backdoor flush pressure while also nudging straight grids like 3-6 into view. Phil leads 7,000 into about 19,000, a classic mid-sizing that tries to win the pot before the board becomes scarier. Against Daniel, that size usually reads as 1 pair or air rather than a queen or better that wants protection and volume. Daniel just calls. He is not chasing. He is keeping Phil's bluffs alive, protecting his own strong hands that would play this way, slow-played queens and some spade floats, and setting up maximum leverage on rivers that amp up the story. Doyle, now sandwiched in hating life with jacks, lets it go. The river is the 2 of spades, completing the backdoor spade flush and putting 4 to a wheel in the picture. It is a nightmare card for capped 1-pair holdings. Phil drops a 6,000 block bet, a telltale sizing that asks for a cheap showdown and implicitly admits he does not love his hand. Daniel pounces and raises to 46,000. What does he represent? From Phil's seat, it is coherent for Daniel to have exactly the hands his line preserved, 2 spades that checked flop multi-way, called the turn lead, and now raise for value, or a slow-played queen with a spade that upgrades from bluff catcher to thin value on a bet-blocked river.
Speech time. It's gotta come.
He might have like 6-9 offsuit. It's Daniel. Good bet.
And Phil lays it down.
Finally got there. Took a while, but
6-9.
I had you.
He nailed it. Look at that. That's sick. That's not gonna look good on TV. Yeah, whatever that is, it's not gonna look good.
Whatever it was.
That's gonna be bad for a profile, unfortunately.
Little do they know, Daniel did have the best hand.
I play so bad. I know Daniel's playing the rush and he's going to re-raise.
Yes, that was what I was doing.
I knew it.
The analysis post-flop is not the time to get it right. You want to get
pair?
during the hand.
You didn't have a pair? You couldn't call?
5, 4.
Imagine you made like a call with 2 3s.
Huh?
What are you doing betting 6,000?
That's what I'm supposed to pick off all the chips from him. When
You bet 6,000?
he starts messing with me.
That's if you have a like.
You got dual smile.
Vanessa is looking down on pocket aces.
So it's me and you. I got to raise it 1,200. So if you re-raise, then you build the pot so big, and then you're going to get bluffed out in a big pot.
Tony G thinks he's going to outplay Vanessa post-flop with position and a junk-suited looking hand.
Keep the pots low. I bet 2,000. Yeah. That's fair, you know. I think it's better betting in a dark. A dark raise, that's hard and commitment.
The flop is the dream board for Tony. He smashes bottom 2 pair versus most opponents. This is where he starts fast playing, trying to punish overpairs and top pair by ballooning the pot immediately. He leads 2K, to which Vanessa instantly raises to 5K. From her point of view, this looks super standard. She has overpair, she doesn't block spades, there are straight and flush combos Tony G can show up with, and she wants to deny equity.
You ready?
From Tony's point of view, that raise is exactly what he was hoping to induce. He doesn't just call, he makes it 20K.
You ready? If you win the hand, you keep me quiet.
Don't believe you. That bluff I'll call.
That size is Tony basically telling a story of, I'm not scared of you, I have a real hand. The problem he doesn't realize is Vanessa loves that story. When she flats the 20K instead of jamming, she's saying, I have you in jail, and I'm letting you keep betting. With aces, she caps nothing, and Tony can't narrow her the way he thinks he can. Turn is where everything flips, and Tony doesn't feel it yet. So Tony keeps value betting for 10K.
You could shut me right up.
How?
Well, by being all in and winning the pot.
Punch in the face.
Just push a button?
Thinking he can still get called by worse and charge flush draws. But in reality, he's now drawing almost dead against boats and nutty slow plays, and Vanessa has him in a spot where calling is mandatory and raising is unnecessary. Full house versus full house is where bankrolls go bankrupt because nobody folds boats to one bet emotionally.
Now you got to show some guts. Can you bet this, or are you going to make a really weak check now on the end? Go on, Vanessa, you can do it.
All in.
Call.
Ace is full.
Wow, very nice. That's the best. Very nice.
You got screwed?
I got a full house too on the end.
Wow.
And a flush draw. That's it. That shut me up. Well done, Vanessa.
Vanessa doubles through.
I got lucky, obviously.
Not really. I mean, it's...
We took turns getting lucky. I got lucky to get the aces, you got lucky on the flop, I got lucky on the turn.
I haven't won one hand when I've been good. So.
Keating's looking down on ace-queen offsuit. Peter comes along with ace-7 suited, a hand that plays fine multi-way but is easily dominated by Keating's calling range. Stanley takes the button with Jack-10, a classic position hand that realizes equity well against 3 opponents. Keating flats pre-flop with ace-queen from the small blind instead of squeezing. Out of position and deep, that call invites dominated aces and worse queens to continue while avoiding a bloated pot against a raiser who can 4-bet. The flop favors ranges that arrived by calling. Keating's ace-queen makes second pair with the best kicker and holds the key blocker to Broadway. His call versus the c-bet is standard. Raising turns his hand into a bluff catcher against stronger kings and sets while isolating himself versus better. Peter's call with ace-7 is thin but defensible. He has bottom pair, an overcard, and backdoor hearts, and he wants to keep his range uncapped for later streets. Stanley's call with Jack-10 is mandatory. He has the best improvement potential with the open-ender and position. The turn ace changes the incentive structure completely. Keating now holds aces and queens, and, out of position in a multi-way pot, checking is superior. Betting announces strength, repels worse, and makes it easy for a better ace like ace-king to play perfectly against him. By checking, he allows weaker aces and floats to fire or show down worse. Peter quietly improves to 2-pair, and he should notice how clean his value targets are, aces that didn't connect with the king or queen, plus stubborn kings that hate folding. But checking has logic too. He controls the pot and traffic and preserves bluffs for the river. Stanley's check is the costly one. With Jack-10, he owns the nuts on a paired board that still grants him clear value from top pairs and combo draws. Letting it check through surrenders value and protection, and it exposes him to exactly what happens next. The board pairs again, and his straight gets stone dead. The river double pairs the ace and reorders the hierarchy. Keating upgrades to aces full of queens, Peter lands on aces full of sevens, and Stanley is drawing thin to chatter.
And this is going to get very nasty for Peter. Maybe Stanley also, but especially Peter.
Checks from Keating and the original raiser are invitations. Peter accepts with a big bet that targets trip aces and missed draws and tries to dodge raises from the few better full houses. Stanley correctly folds once the ace pairs again, straights are dust. Keating's river decision should lean exploitative here. Against Peter, who routinely overplays strong one-pair and boat combos, a value raise prince. Keating's hand is under-repped, he blocks the most common equal boat with the queen. Peter's turn check makes ace-king less likely, and Texas Mike is capped after check-check.
Did he just call? He just called.